Magical Brooklyn is where they live. Elves and dwarves is who they hang out with. Fuck horses lay back, but he'll drop rhymes.
Knuckle raps and plan schemes half of the time.
Jump up and scream till you get your throat hoarse. This is the show that we call Nock Force. Jump up and scream till you get your throat hoarse. This is the show that we call Nock Force.
Hey, it's the RebelTaxi Pizza Party podcast on YouTube. I'm Pan Pizza. Who are you people?
I'm Nolan.
Oh, hey, it's Jim.
Hey, it's Izzy.
And hey, it's Ian JQ. How's it going?
It's been 84 years.
Oh my god, I can't believe it. They're back. It's Run the Jewels. Look at them. They're right there.
It's been so long, Pan turned into a gosh dang skeleton. Appropriate because it's October now.
Yeah, it's October, and today is also Cartoon Network's 25th birthday, which I relate to that because I am also 25 years old. So when Cartoon Network goes down, I die too.
Your life force is directly connected to the studio.
This is where I belong. But
so, I'm super stoked about October, but this is the first year that I've been Izzy for it, and I can't think of a Halloween pun.
Lizzie, the lizard, from Rampage the game.
Pan, get out of here. Go away. Shoot. Okay.
But we have a fucking guest. Oh, we have a freaking guest. Who are you? Who is? What do you do? What is this person?
I'm Ian JQ. What do you need me to I don't know. Explain who I am?
Yeah. Who are you?
Who am I? I'm the creator of a show called OKKO on Cartoon Network. Also, formerly, I worked on Adventure Time, Steven Universe, The Venture Brothers, a bunch of other things too small to name. And Secret Mountain Fort Awesome.
Oh, yeah, that was a show. I like that show, but everyone just hated it when it first came out.
But I think most... relevant is that Jim and I used to do an animated series together called Nock Force.
Yes, yes.
What was that about?
Back when we lived together.
Yeah.
In sin?
I guess.
I don't know if it was really in sin.
I mean, we sinned a lot.
Well,
that is true. That is.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Maybe too much. Too much.
And now they're finally back in. Yeah.
Nock Force did a podcast before.
Wasn't Nock Force just a podcast before, and then you just got the best of clips?
No. Oh no, I've heard people say that, but no. I think people suggested we do that, and we were like, no. We would just talk about stuff, and then I would cut out the clips.
It was kind of pre-podcast getting big, actually.
Yeah, I mean they were
around, but it wasn't like now.
No, I mean we did the one that the Abomination thing's from.
Yeah,
and that was the only, because there weren't really any to do. Like we tried to look at others, and it was like, oh, there's this one, and then some other guy. It was 2008, so it was very. Now it looks like early internet compared to what's going on now.
It's true. Well, Nock Force itself was really the way it grew was really organic. I think it just came out of us living together and wanting to make things.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember exactly how it went, but I think we just started recording ourselves talking.
Yeah, well, because originally it was going to be because you have episode 1, and people are always like, where's episode 2? But we kind of were like, that was the original plan, but then we had too much fun with the quickies. So then it just became the quickies, because we're like, this is easier than writing something and planning it out.
I mean, they were more fun because it was literally just the conversations we would have after we both got home from work.
Yeah.
And we just recorded those, and then you would go in and clip out the funny parts.
Mm-hmm.
I remember not knowing what the funny parts were, and then you would clip them out and be like, oh yeah, that was kind of funny.
Yeah. I mean, there were some recording sessions where there would be 5 really great quickies, and then there were some I know specifically the one for Rapping Roller Coaster, which I think was the only time we decided to get drunk during. Because we were like, wow, that was fun, but I think this is unusable. And then I was like, well, we have Rappin' Roller Coaster, and that was like the only.
Yeah, that was the only thing.
You know what? I gotta be honest. Nock Force really needs like
a rock and roller coaster.
No, a rapping roller coaster.
I was just thinking that in my head.
Yeah,
you just read my mind and said it.
All right. Well, I'm saying it now. And you know what? It could have. You know what? Let's go crazy. 2 loop-de-loops.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
A rapping roller coaster.
And I want a part where you stop and you have to fill out a test and then you go around again. Just to surprise it, because you wouldn't see that coming.
No, you really
You'd be like, I have to fill out a biology test. Shit. And if you get it wrong, you have to get off.
That's right.
Yeah, and people always used to say, like, whoa, what are you guys smoking when you do those? But it's like we actually were completely sober for every single one.
It
was Rapid Roller Coaster. That was the experiment. And we were like, we'll never again.
We were very, like, sober, but, like, very strict about stuff. Like, we have to record it sober.
Yeah.
What were you smoking? Cigarettes? For someone who has never seen Nock Force, explain what Nock Force is.
Oh yeah, so we gave sort of like a little bit of a background, but it kind of started up as I think it was really from Jim having recording equipment around.
Yes,
you had like a keyboard.
I had a keyboard, a mixer, and a mic, which the keyboard I had from the 90s just from a Christmas, and believe it or not, the mic and the mixer was actually bought with Cletus the Fetus money.
That's right.
and that's actually what, like, because we made this money from the t-shirts, and Ian did Cletus the Fetus, and there were all the other voice people, and I said, look, how should we split the money? And everyone vote, because I was like going to give them the money, because I didn't, and they were all like, no, let's buy like actual recording equipment so we don't have to borrow our friends. And I was like, all right, if everyone's cool with it, and they were, and so
it ended up being really good because you just had that stuff around, and then I think we just started being like, well, let's use this for stuff. I think we were like recorded like 1 or 2 songs that were really bad.
What we did,
just messing around with the keyboard.
I think we did one, and I don't know how available it is, or even if I still have it. It was called like the War of 1812, but both of us didn't really know what happened in the War of 1812. So I think it involved lasers and dinosaurs or something.
It was very like we didn't plan anything. We were just kind of winging it, and then I guess like from that it was basically like, well, we have this stuff, we can record stuff. Let's start recording more stuff. Then I think we started recording songs, and we started writing cartoons. And then, like Jim alluded to, the plan was we were going to make these cartoon episodes, these fully written episodes. And then on the off weeks, we were going to have these like quickie shorts that were just made from us improvising, that were like slices of our talking. We just had that stuff because I think like literally we were like we would just hang out and talk after work, and at some point it was just like, hey, we have this recording stuff, let's just record ourselves. And then we eventually just started doing that and making short cartoons out of any of the funny parts.
But there's a lot of like excess in all those recordings. It's like for every quickie there'd be like 30-40 minutes of us going like, someone should get paper towels, and then going like, did you see like whatever was big on Adult Swim?
I know,
or something like Lucy, Daughter of the Devil, or something like that.
We would be like talking about our lives,
and then we'd be like, we have to actually say something funny.
What is Cletus the Fetus money? I'm concerned.
Oh, sorry. I just sorry. Not to bring up a web series nobody remembers at this point. It was a series that I made in college because I was like, I was going to make a cartoon, and I kind of learned Flash through, not good at anime. I'm not going to act like, but I made a lot of them. And it was more just like people were down to do it, and it was like about a talking fetus and his friend Earl, and Ian played Melvin.
I was Melvin, yeah.
And it was not the greatest show, but I think it was good because it got a lot of like the gross out humor out of my system that I was more into at the time. And it was, I'm glad I did it because it gave me something to do in college. But
I think it was like, I remember it being very sort of like kind of South Park, kind of feel.
Yeah.
Like the way it was animated, but also like our whole sort of like the vibe of it was very much like, we'll do and say anything. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, it was like, oh, we'll do this. I mean, they're all on YouTube and stuff, but they're a little just like kind of offensive humor, which like Nock Force were like, let's move away from that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a few times we didn't, but
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It was more about making a joke in Nock Force, and Cletus the fetus was like, we said a bad word, look at us. And there's like, but that was Flash cartoons at the time.
Exactly.
There were no rules.
We were kind of fitting in. Yeah.
I had Newgrounds respect.
Yeah.
But, as much as that gets you.
Ego Raptor like knocks on your door and goes, "Hey man, I love Cletus the fetus, dude. You should be on Sequelitis."
Cletus the fetus, Cletus the fetus, Cletus the fetus is the best in the world. Oh, Cletus the fetus, Cletus the fetus, Cletus the fetus is the best in the world.
Ian, when do you think Newgrounds was funny? Like, when do you think Newgrounds was funny?
Oh no.
Newgrounds, man. So, Cletus the fetus was on Newgrounds, right, Jim?
Yeah, well, it had its own site.
It had its own,
the syndication package, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Would like months later, I would put it on Newgrounds to like promote.
And we were gonna do the same with Nock Force, but we just got lazy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, well I think it was because there were so many. His Nock Force started in 2007, and it wasn't clear. It was pretty clear YouTube was going to be the winner, but there were like Daily Motion was there, MySpace Video was a big thing at the time. Yep. I think there's another one that is gone.
We chose YouTube.
But the first couple were posted like on like 4 different sites or something. It was like really ridiculous. Like, because we would post on Sunday night, and I remember like we'd just be by the computer like, well, how's MySpace Video's upload speed going?
Yeah.
Oh God.
I wasn't super deep in Newgrounds culture. Like at that time, I went to Newgrounds a lot. Like when it first started, like to play like the Pico games and stuff. Like, beat up whoever. Like the ones that were like literally like HTML things that you would click on.
Yeah. That little virtual pet guy.
That was more when I was super into it. And then when it became like very interconnected, lots of Flash stuff, I wasn't I think I was just in college at the time. Yeah. And I didn't pay a lot of attention to it. But nowadays, I work with a lot of really talented young artists who got their starts like animating on things on Newgrounds or like being fans of Newgrounds stuff. So like, I don't know, if I was like a little bit younger, I think I would have been like all about it.
But when would you say it was funny? Like when would you say it was the most funny Newgrounds?
I don't really know.
He's setting you up for it.
Pan is like trying to lure you into it like a trap.
Just pick a year so he can get this out of his system. Wait to handle it.
I'm not even sure. Like just a random year.
Just a random year.
Okay, 2007.
I think Newgrounds was funny when we were all 12, living in the suburbs, listening to Linkin Park, watching Dragon Ball Z, drinking Pepsi while playing Halo co-op on the easiest setting, during which we consumed Doritos and looked at paintball guns on eBay and Internet Explorer connection
Ian,
through AOL.
you make a cartoon, right? You work at like a studio and you like make like cartoons like for like a TV channel, right? Like way better than this guy who makes videos for YouTube.
Aww.
What?
Rude.
Really? I kind of feel that that's not actually. I think that actually, like, the best thing about 2017 is that the stuff that's on TV is not better than stuff that's online.
Whoa, there! Can you say that?
Well, that
it's actually true. I think there's like, people who like make their own stuff and they make things that are good and that people actually like. It's equal. It's just like in terms of like promotion and budgeting, it's not. But I would say that entertainment, the playing field has never been more level, and it's getting more level every day.
Yeah. But again, if you're talking in terms of quality, you're barking up the wrong tree with RebelTaxi. I'm sorry to say. I try to convince Pan to delete his channel every day.
Why are you trying to bust my balls?
You mean Pam's reviews and stuff?
Just everything.
Oh,
actually, I'm gonna maybe mark out a little bit, but actually something I really like, Pan, about your reviews is that I think there's like this culture of reviewing where it's just like get super angry, say a bunch of bad words, make a bunch of weird faces at the camera, and like just be like, man, they were on drugs when they made this, blah blah blah. One thing I find really awesome about Pan's work is that you like look at something and you don't just say, wow, this sucks. You go like, man, I don't think this was supposed to come out this way. Why did this happen? And then like you look up, you do research on like who made it, like what animation studio did it, who were the people responsible, like all that stuff. Like I feel like that's like the high watermark. I feel like people should be like demanding that from like the reviewers that they watch, because if it's just someone like screaming and sort of like putting their opinions forward as like facts, that's not really like a good review or a good video. It's like the stuff that's really interesting is like the academic research. And I don't know, I see you do that, Pan. I don't see like a lot of other people do that.
I think Pan has a good balance of the joke, the funny haha jokes, and the actual. Like, I don't think his analysis is as deep as like Entertain the Elk, but it's still better than a lot of other people.
Is there like a?
At least it's.
I will say, in regards to like a lot of analysis, there are people who do analysis videos where so much of their analysis is based on IMDb scores. It's
yes.
Like, those don't mean anything, right? Like I really want people to stop doing that.
Or like Rotten Tomatoes scores, or I've seen them for Rotten Tomatoes scores that were for movies released before Rotten Tomatoes was a thing, which couldn't even be accurate.
Yeah.
I feel like the only thing IMDb like research is good for is for like aggregating like the public perception of a property at that time. Like somebody who we had on the podcast before named Eyepatch Wolf did a Fall of the Simpsons video on how it happened, and he used the IMDb scores to chart how people felt about the seasons, and like over 200,000 reviews over the course of the entire series. The show went from like the high 8s to low 9s to like the high 6s, mid 6s over the course of the 30 years.
But are the sample sizes for each one of those seasons like exactly the same? Like it's you kind of start to run down precedents that might not make that much sense.
Yeah.
When you go with that, like you have to start to look at like, well, is like season 13 of The Simpsons, like, does it have as many reviews or scores as earlier things? And, I'm just saying, like, in terms of academic research, it's like it's hard to rely on user submitted data like that when it comes to making because a lot of times they present it as it's objective data, I don't mind it being presented, but when it's presented as like objective, like perfect data, it doesn't quite add up a lot of the time. But sorry, I'm just being like super pedantic.
Is there a blushing icon to put on here? Because I don't know how to express emotions.
Pan, just delete.
Thanks.
Just stop.
Oh, here's a blushing icon from earlier. Yeah.
Perfect.
Thanks.
We did it.
Yay.
Hey man, the more genuine emotions you give, the better it gets.
Yay, hopefully. Don't ever go on my Let's Play channel. Things get too genuine on there.
Oh God.
Never.
No worries.
What are we going to talk about? Is there anything else to say about Nock Force?
We could talk about... So when we were making Nock Force, I was working at World Leaders Entertainment, who was the animation studio behind Venture Brothers at the time. Venture Brothers has now moved on to Titmouse. But they wanted to pitch more shows, and we tried to pitch Nock Force with them to... Oh man, it was so many networks. Fox, Adult Swim.
Yeah.
There were, I think, like at the time, Adult Swim had just gotten really big, and so a bunch of other networks were trying to do like Adult Swim-esque things, and then they're like online.
I think Fox, they eventually did do an Adult Swim sort of ripoff thing.
Yeah, the ADHD.
But this was like so long before. Yeah. When it did happen, I was like, oh man, they've
been working on that like that whole time. Yeah.
What was I'm curious, like, what was the total development cost by the time that went to air? Because it must have. I don't think they made money off of that thing. But anyway, I don't know the business of it. But
yeah, we tried to pitch a show. Neither of us had done anything like that before. Maybe we made some mistakes. I'm not even sure if we did a good job or not. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know if they were the greatest at. See, we weren't in any of the pitches. We didn't actually get to go before Fox.
That's true.
So like we would hear things, but then I was like, but we don't even know like if that's how it happened or like if they did the best job or they didn't. So I'm like, I used to, when I think I first heard it, I'd be like, oh, they fucked it up or something. But now I'm kind of like, but I wasn't there. So I can't. I mean, I wish they had let us come and do it and like do the I don't know if you've ever heard the infamous John K. Pitch story where he like got on tables and ripped his shirt off and
what
fired a gun off or something. Like it was supposed to be like the craziest pitch.
He would like jump around and get like really like worked up and stuff.
Like I've heard people say like it's just like the couple times he pitched like it kind of became a circus. Like some people be like, oh, come in, everybody from the office, take the afternoon off. Let's watch John K. pitch this.
Oh, do they just throw like dimes at him? Like, yeah, perform for us, monkey.
I mean, I think sort of, but I think the Ren and Stimpy pitch was supposed to be like legendarily amazing. And I think because I don't know if Ian took the class as well, the pitching the animated series class.
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah. So like in that class, they make it seem like you're going to go in and pitch your show, but World Leaders pitched Nock Force. We worked on the pitch book, and we went to meetings and stuff.
We made a pitch book. We went to meetings. We made a pitch book. We like made like sample cartoons for them to show. Yeah. And like they took all the materials and pitched them on our behalf. And I think the main like maybe the main issue was what's it called? The fact that we weren't like known at all. Like we weren't famous comedians. We weren't like famous actors from something else. So we really had no chance. I think they told us that like Adult Swim might have literally been like, who are these guys?
Yeah, like they didn't know who we were at all. I mean, we had like, what was it? I think the voice of Zorak watched us or something like that.
C. Martin Croker. Yeah, he did. Yeah, I think he watched some of the cartoons. Yeah.
like some of them were fans, but they weren't really willing to. But I think also the problem is the only thing that showed what an episode would have been was episode 1, and the quickies, like, we never figured out how to do the quickies as an episode, and like sometimes later on when I'd watch regular shows, like I wish I'd come up with something like that then, but I still don't think they would have picked it up, because I think that might have been the issue. They didn't really.
I think that's true. So yeah, that was like a weird adventure. But then I remember when we finally were like, when they were finally like, well, we pitched it to everyone and no one went with it. And I remember, I don't know, we were like sad, but then we were like, whatever. We just kept making cartoons.
It was like the beginning of a quickie session, and by that point, I think like a week before I said, maybe you should just ask them to call Fuse, because where else are we gonna go? Like it was like, and Fuse isn't as bad as it is now, where they just play Sister reruns. Like Fuse had the Spaceballs cartoon, which was, but
I know,
it was like it was still something.
I mean, they could have, if they went for that, right? Maybe we would have a shot.
That was on G4 first.
I think they didn't. They did the bigger ones. I sort of wish they had gone for the smaller ones, but I don't. Maybe there wasn't that much money there, or they had spent all their money on Spaceballs, the cartoon, or something. But we kind of just went, it didn't work out, whatever. We still have this thing, and not a lot of people were making cartoons on YouTube. So it was like, we were kind of
like a novelty. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
But Spaceballs, the cartoon was on G4 first, and it was a mess.
Well, it was a big thing. Like, everyone thought Adult Swim would get it, and they bought it up, and everyone was like, what? But it didn't, I think it was probably better off for Adult Swim.
I think it was just bad. I remember watching on, I think Netflix picked it up or something. Like not actually like to make episodes, but just the stream.
I mean, they're still gonna do Spaceballs 2.
What?
Oh yeah, the interest in that went up when Force Awakens happened. I heard yesterday that apparently they've had this treatment for it, and it's called Spaceballs 3: The Search for Spaceballs 2 is the title of it. Which I was like, okay, that's funny, but watch a later Mel Brooks movie and tell me you really want. I mean, it makes sense. It would make money now. There's Star Wars every year,
That's harsh but true.
Aren't the guys who made disaster?
Spo, I really like your drawing you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
It's awesome.
But I'm isn't the guys who made Disaster Movie and Epic Movie making some sort of Star Wars parody also for theaters?
I mean, I don't remember a story about that, but I'll just say sure. That's something we would do.
Oh yeah, but Nolan, your thing's making noise when you click on something, I think, or something's making noise.
I told you the undo button's right there, you goof.
Oh, sorry, that was me.
Yeah.
It's doing Control Z.
My art slave won't stop clicking the buttons. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And it's okay. He won't be getting as much gruel tonight as he did yesterday, so it's all right. I'll fix it.
No 10 days for me.
And
you guys aren't excited for Space Movie?
Oh no!
What's Space Movie?
I'm assuming the Disaster Movie, Epic Movie type of thing.
Yeah. I just assumed that's what the project you guys are referring to.
What were their names? Freebird and Seltzer. That's what their names were.
Yeah. They're back?
I think so. Well, they've been making movies on Netflix, straight to Netflix, and I guess I don't know.
Have?
Yeah, they made a Fast and Furious parody, a Hungry Games parody called Starving Games.
Oh yeah, I do remember these. Apparently what happened is the last one. Remember when Mother came out recently? Every movie site was showing a list of movies that got an F cinema score, which there aren't that many.
Oh.
And one of them was one of their movies. I think it was Disaster Movie or whichever one had Juno. I don't really.
Yeah.
I haven't seen them, so I don't know. But supposedly one of them didn't do very well, so they've been going to streaming and on demand and stuff.
Yeah. Terrible. But is that all the history for Nock Force?
I mean, we sort of just
unless you have any other questions.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, Ian, what are you working on now? What you been up to?
Well, right now, literally, I'm working on storyboards and stuff for my show.
Mm-hmm.
I still try to draw as much as I can into every episode. So like I work on a lot of revisions and stuff. Yeah. And also like I'm working on, there's just like there's so many moving parts to making an animated show, and so there are like sometimes changes to model sheets or backgrounds or stuff, and I try to take those things on myself every once in a while. So yeah, it's kind of what I was working on today.
Yeah. Question: Would you ever throw references or cameos with Nock Force into your current show?
Well, Nock Force is kind of that would be kind of tough because I don't own Nock Force. Jim and I own that jointly. That's like a copyright that I don't have the say of what to do with it.
Dang.
I recently did a RPG World cameo, which was a old comic I did that I started when I was 15. But that was easy because I own that,
Did you go to a mirror and ask yourself?
What?
What's that?
Did you go to a mirror? Hey, Ian, can I use RPG World? Yeah, man, you can do it.
Actually, it's kind of hilarious. Because, it has to be done legally, right?
Yeah.
So, I had to sign a licensing contract from myself to myself, basically. That's literally, what you have to do. It's so weird.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've
done that several times. I've made a font and had it used in an episode.
Yeah.
And so I had to sell the font to myself, basically. It's so weird. Legal stuff. It's so bizarre.
Is it that square font that appears every so often in Steven Universe and Nock Force shirts?
Well, so I've made a couple Steven Universe fonts. There's the font for the title screen, but this one was for the Lakewood Plaza. It's all of the OKKO stuff. The Lakewood Plaza Turbo pilot. I used a font of my handwriting for all the credits and stuff.
Yeah,
which Cartoon Network now owns. That I had to be I made this, and I will buy it off of myself for use in this thing.
Does Cartoon Network now own RPG World?
No, they don't. No.
It's
a licensing agreement. So it's I'm licensing the characters, but they don't own the rights to that.
Oh, okay. No. Yeah, because also I know We Bare Bears was based on a webcomic, and I'm sure Cartoon Network now owns that, I think.
Oh, I mean, yeah, probably, since that's the whole show. Yeah. I would assume so.
Mm-hmm.
I read a lot of RPG World, but I liked all the RPG World references. You had the first book cover in there and a bunch of stuff, because I didn't know. I knew about the Captain Planet thing, which I thought had aired, but I guess hasn't, to my understanding.
Oh,
but
yeah.
That one caught me by surprise. Because Hero was in, wasn't he a character? He was a background thing in Steven Universe?
Yes. Yeah, we threw him in there.
Did you have to do a thing there, or were they just cool with it?
No, that was such low level. This the character actually talked and was named, and it becomes a much bigger deal.
Okay. Well, if you guys ever want to use Nock Force, I'm cool with it.
But it's a verbal contract.
Oh, is that? Oh, whoops.
No, we can talk about that later.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
Sorry.
Okay. So speaking of licensing stuff, I really actually want to touch upon this because you just used Captain Planet in an episode, which I too thought aired, but it's mostly because they keep showing clips. I think there's at least 4 minutes of the episode out right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it goes.
Are the other Planeteers dead?
Oh God. Well, let's see. So this.
Ooh, whoa.
Oh, there's a dog. I guess this podcast is gonna go up the day after it airs.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're live now, just so you know, just so you don't.
Yeah, and I know we're live, so I'll just say you gotta watch the episode and find out.
Well, did you? I actually wanted to ask you. Did you meet LeVar Burton?
Yes, I did.
So wait. Did you ask him about the episode of Reading Rainbow where they went behind the scenes on Star Trek: The Next Generation?
I told him that I saw that when I was a kid, and it blew my mind. and he was super nice.
Oh, cool.
And he was awesome. He was like, he was just really cool, really genuine. He loved doing the Kwame voice. He like basically sat down. He was like right back there. He sort of like improv'd things off the script from the fly because like he knows how Kwame talks. So like he did his own spin on things, and like he signed a copy of my script after, and like he was just like a really nice guy, and he was saying like Captain Planet. He was shocked that we did something with it because people have been talking about it for ages about doing some kind of thing, and he was like, you guys are the first people to do it. So,
Wow. I actually didn't know he was the voice of Kwame until I saw the tweet that went out, and I was like, because at first it was like, oh, so they got him to do Kwame, and then I went, oh my god, that is like, because I watched Captain Planet, that was him. It was shocking.
I think it was kind of maybe a little based off of him appearing in Roots back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
And so he kind of has like, he can do like kind of like that West African sort of voice.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
He had that show had like Oprah was on it too, right? It had a pretty high budget, Captain.
The original Captain Planet. I mean, it was like, I mean, it was crazy. Like a lot of like the original voice actors for the characters were like, huge celebrities.
Yeah, who played that one lady, the blonde lady villain?
It was that role was originated. Dr. Blight's role was originated by Meg Ryan.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah. Meg Ryan only did maybe like the first season, but then when they brought her back, it was Mary Kay Bergman, R.I.P.
Mm-hmm.
Who as the voice of like all the women in South Park in the first season. And, the original like Batgirl from who we unfortunately lost back then, but
yeah.
Can I ask the question I was setting up though?
Oh, sorry.
No, that's totally cool. Basically, so licensing thing. Obviously, Cartoon Network owns OKKO and then also owns Captain Planet, so it's just kind of like a knock on the door. Hey, can we use it? So my kind of question is: one, was it your idea to like, hey, let's just do a Captain Planet episode? And because this is similar to how Venture Brothers is able to use Johnny Quest stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was totally my idea. It was something I wanted to do. I thought like Captain Planet would totally fit like in their world because that show is like really goofy.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to do it. And I think like later, I don't know. I think I just like kind of offhand asked like, hey, can I put Captain Planet in a thing? And they're like, yeah, I mean, we own it, so you can kind of do whatever you want. And I was like, let's do it. But yeah, it was something I really, really, really wanted to do.
You didn't have to ask like Ted Turner or anything?
I didn't have to ask him personally. However, we did get in touch with the Captain Planet Foundation.
Oh.
And they still sort of take care of the character. They license him out. They still do like public service announcements, and the foundation itself is like, still very much alive. And, we got in contact with them and told them what we were doing, and it was really cool.
Yeah, because this is the first Cartoon Network cameo for Captain Planet since Punch Time Explosion.
Oh yeah, the fighting game.
Yeah.
I still can't believe I could get beat up by Captain Planet in a video game.
Yeah.
Like Dream Goals.
That's the dream. Yeah. I mean, like you could basically put in like Robot Jones if you wanted to, right?
I mean, probably.
Yeah.
The thing is, a lot of I mean, you guys probably know some stuff about this, but like depending on the character, some things have been written off, so it's like you can't really make new things with them.
Oh yeah.
But like
there's no Mega XLR thing you can't ever do.
Like Cartoon Network has been like, they're like really cool with whenever I'm like, hey, I have this stupid idea, and they're just like, yeah, do
stupid idea, you say, we'll do it.
Man, a Magus XLR in OKKO would have been amazing, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, you never know.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I'm not asking you to give out spoilers, but I'm really hoping the Captain Planet episode goes the route of the Don Cheadle Funny or Die short, where he just starts turning things into trees. And everybody's like mortified by Captain Planet, and he just gets really intense.
I feel like you know, as a fan of the original show, I more tried to honor like the weird tone of that.
Yeah,
so,
all his bad puns.
I hope you enjoy it.
No, I know.
Weren't you Kwame for Halloween one year?
I was Kwame for Halloween one year. I can't remember that.
Because I first was like, didn't that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remember that.
When the 5 powers combine, they summon Earth's greatest champion, Captain Planet. Go Planet! The power is yours!
I forget you. Also, what I remember what aired this past weekend was like some mysterious guy. Obviously, you can't say who that guy was at all or say anything. But I like the designs on the set of that episode, the water temple thing.
Oh, thanks so much. Yeah. That was aboard. You're talking about Let's Have a Stakeout, and that episode was storyboarded by Dave Allegri and Haewon Lee, who really dug into the assignment of bringing back Shadowy Figure, and it was just a really fun episode to work on. The place where they fought, actually, that's not its first appearance on the show. If you go back to an earlier episode, do you have any more in the back? You can see its first appearance.
Oh yeah.
But they expanded that area, and it was a lot of fun to choreograph the fight, which has a lot of. We really wanted to do a fight like if you guys remember the original Dragon Ball, when Goku fights Tao Pai Pai, when he's like, it's like just a really fun fight that's like a kid versus a super strong character. So yeah.
That's the first.
I'm really glad
Goku,
you enjoyed that. Dave did a really good job.
What'd you say, Ian? I mean, Izzy?
That's the villain that first defeated Goku, right?
Yeah. He definitely defeats him.
Yeah, because he to travel, he like breaks down trees, throws them, and then jumps on them.
Yeah, it's an amazing. It's just a hilarious character.
Oh, someone in the chat says Law360 says talk about Trigger Studios, like since you got to work with them.
Oh yeah, Trigger. When I was working on Steven Universe, we became fans. We became friends with some of the animators from Trigger. Most notably Takafumi Hori, who we like shared a lot of correspondence with, and when I got to visit Japan, this would be this would be like over 2 years ago now, I guess. We got to visit Studio Trigger, which was amazing. I totally geeked out the entire time. It was great. But the best part was, we not only got to meet Hori-san in person, but we got to meet, Yo Yoshinari, and my one of my heroes, Hiroki Imaishi, and we basically just sort of sat down in their conference room and sort of just like talked about animation for an hour and a half, and we were just sort of like talking about like, oh, how do they achieve these things? Like they wanted to know like how, like what our workflow was like, because I mean they're huge fans of Western cartoons, so they wanted to know like, oh, how do you guys do this? We do it like this, and then we would like sort of like talk about like our different ways of achieving stuff. One thing that I'm a big fan of is Trigger's use, like the way that they have like these nice active cameras, digital effects, like, Kill la Kill is a really good example. It's like they use digital effects, but they kind of make sure that there's sort of like a human sort of feeling to them. So like there's like brush strokes and, like splatter marks and stuff like that. And, so I was just talking to them. We talked to them like we talked their ears off, just like asking them how they do animation. And it was great. We got to make friends with them. And then later on, actually, I think it was on that trip that we made the deal for Hori-san did a sequence Steven Universe episode, which came out so great. And then later on, when after OKKO got greenlit, I wanted to do something special for the intro. And it was hard for me to like send those first emails, like asking someone who you're a huge fan of, like, will you work on my thing? But I like kind of sacked up and did it, and I'm super glad that I got to work with them.
Yeah, because now they do the intro. Like they also did the intro to that, and also Black Dynamite. Like is Cartoon Network just I mean, there's a lot of weird crossover. Like, is Cartoon Network going to do something for them ever?
I mean, I can't really say as far as what Cartoon Network wants to do. But, we made the deal sort of separately of anybody else. It was just something that I wanted to happen because of what kind of show it was. And I'm a huge fan of Maishi-san's artwork and animation. And, to have him draw the characters, I'm still like, I still can't believe it's real. So yeah.
Yeah, because like it's OKKO is pretty much a combination of everything you like, right? It's just all these random arcade games, all this anime stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk a little bit about OKKO in general. When I first pitched OKKO, I was storyboarding on Secret Mountain Fort Awesome. And I was then going to be the storyboard supervisor for Adventure Time. And they asked, do you have any ideas? And I came up with a pitch about aliens. And then, like, right before the pitch meeting, I was just like, this is stupid. And I just threw it away. And I was just like, I'll make a thing that's just, like, about, when I was a teen, I worked at a supermarket, and it was really funny. We would just like goof off in this supermarket, and I actually got that job at a supermarket so I could buy a Dreamcast.
Oh yeah.
When I was a kid. But yeah, so I wanted to put together those feelings, and then also just like all the action cartoons I liked, like all the like video games and anime I'd watched, and just like, fun stuff, and just like have a fun time. Yeah.
Do you ever feel like it's like a little too esoteric sometimes? Because like, I mean, kids are not gonna get the that episode with the cactus, the corn, where it was just a bunch of references to corn and new metal and stuff.
Every step that I take is another mistake for you. Every step that I take is another mistake to you. I wanna see you try to take a swing at me. I wanna see you try to take a swing at me.
Yeah. I mean, people bring up stuff about the references, quite a bit. Actually, it makes me think of something. Like, did you guys like Billy and Mandy growing up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When was the time that you realized that every single Billy and Mandy episode and character was a reference to a horror movie?
A lot
or
later.
Like a sci-fi movie. Like when did you realize that?
Way later, because Hostel Gato.
It was way later, right? I think like it's funny, like, because as far as OKKO and like the references we put in the show, we're not like, we make them for fun and for us to have fun with. And it's not so much that you have to know the reference to connect to the show. It's sort of like the way Billy and Mandy, they were just these like fun things. But like if you were an adult or you were working on the show, like you knew what the thing was referencing. I think the thing that's different now is a lot of people who recognize the references, you're just older and you know those references because you kind of grew up at the same time as me. I think if you're a kid, there's something really fun about like watching a show and it's referencing a lot of esoteric media that you didn't know. Like, I know that when I was a kid, like Rocko's Modern Life, like, and Billy and Mandy, like shows like that, like I was totally absorbed with. And then years later, I was like, oh my God, that was a reference to this or whatever. But I think the thing about it now is, there are a lot of people who grew up on a lot of the same things. And, so now they can kind of get the references as well. And it sort of leads them to think like, oh, this show is just references, or it's over reliant on references. But I think the difference is you're just older and we speak the same language, so you get the references. So, don't push us away because we made it for you. So, yeah.
I can kind of see where that is coming from, but I also feel like if you're going to reference something, it should also stand on its own as well as a joke. Because House Delgado also acted as well as a parody. He was just a funny character in general.
Yeah, and I think that's what we aim for. To make, and the thing about so the episode you're mentioning, Know Your Mom, which was an episode storyboarded by Parker Simmons and Ryan Shannon. And what happened with that is, so we had this idea, which was a kind of very basic idea of, what if KO sort of set up like a secret encounter for his mom to fight an old enemy. Say if it was Rocko's Modern Life, the old enemy would have been like disco or something. You know what I mean? It would have been like, something for that time that those artists and writers grew up on. Say if it was like Billy and Mandy, maybe they would have done like, they're wacky 80s characters or something. We decided to make it like, we were like, well, KO is 6 to 11 years old, so let's go back 6 to 11 years and really like think about what something from that time would be like. And so Ryan and Parker came up with this incredible solution of doing like early 2000s, mid 2000s nu metal references to like sort of put him specifically in a specific time period. And that's like an example of a thing where it's like, you could look at it and be like, oh, it's references, haha, I'm only supposed to laugh at the reference. But actually, the reference is sort of it's sort of like a touch point for if you're old enough to understand this, you understand like, oh, this is where this character is from. This is what this character means in this situation. It's kind of like it kind of makes it more specific for people. Instead of us just saying like, oh, well, he's from the early 2000s. Like, what does that mean? We have to give like context. We have to give context for what that is. And that's kind of our MO with that sort of stuff.
Well, similar to like The Simpsons, which we grew up on. And like a lot of those references, like I know we would both watch movies and then go, I think we have to rewatch a Simpsons episode.
Yes.
I think we just finally got there was a couple like that.
We do that all the time.
Actually, because of Mystery Science Theater, I recently got a Simpsons joke. Troy McClure is based on this actor Doug McClure, who was in 2 of the new Mystery Science Theater episodes. Had Doug McClure movies, and even had Joel McHale guest on. And he does a Troy McClure thing. And Troy McClure is a bunch of different people, but he's mainly Doug McClure. And I did not know that till this summer, basically. And it's like there's still references that like were major parts of my childhood that I just didn't.
Yeah, and I think it's just that when you're making something, you don't, there's this idea that like, oh, you can make something that's completely original, and that no one should have any inspiration. No one should wear their inspirations on their sleeve. And no one should, basically shout out to the things that they like. And, I think that in any way, like pretty much any like good movie, any good like director or good artist is fully aware of what they're taking from, even like samples it inside of their work. Or even if it seems like, oh, this is a wholly original thing, it's because their actual sense of the references that they're making are so built in to what it is that you can never extract those references from it. And but for us, like the thing about us is that we make the show so that even if you don't get whatever thing that we're referencing, you still understand the show. We don't like do like like cheesy sort of like pop-up things, like video, like someone doesn't do something and then like a points thing comes up or like something like that. Like, you know, it's not, we try to stay away from like superficial like things where like someone could just be like, oh, it's a reference, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like Star Wars actually did that a lot.
Yeah.
Like the famous shot of Luke looking at Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru like on fire. That's from The Searchers, which is a pretty well-known movie. And the plot's obviously what?
I think you made me watch Hidden Fortress after watching Star Wars.
Yeah, well, we watched. I made you guys watch The Searchers and Hidden Fortress because I was like,
oh, it was just like, Searchers. Okay,
it was like because I was
Hidden Fortress later.
Yeah, but Hidden Fortress takes from like John Ford and all this stuff. But it's because we didn't grow up with those references. When I go back and watch old movies, I was suddenly like, oh, Star Wars is like a lot of references, but like I didn't. People in '77 got that, but I did not when I was four, you know.
Yeah.
So
but yeah, I mean, you know, it's basically just like, you know, we're just having fun because we grew up on all the same stuff, and it's like people who are our age get it, and you know, we're just we don't want to be untruthful towards, you know, what we like. It's important for me.
My edgy tsundere friend who listens to nu metal really loved that episode.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It was insane because when they pitched that, I was just like, oh my God, we have to do this.
Yeah.
And then it got so far that they were like, can we get Jonathan Davis to do this character? And I was like, let's try. And Jonathan Davis, super class act. He's super funny. He came in, he did it. He thought it was hilarious. He started just like laughing. Anytime it was like his next line, he's like, "Oh my God, it's like it." He was like, "You want me to sing it? Because I this is my song." So you know. It was really great.
Was there something that's just too esoteric that are like, okay, we can't have this at all, we can't do this?
No, we put in everything.
Oh yeah. Although one thing I'm wondering about, like,
people missed in that episode, people missed him saying "it's been a while," which was a scene.
Oh my God!
A lot of people didn't get that was a reference, and they like people have made supercuts of all the song lyrics, but they leave that one off, and I'm like, hey, come on.
That's like the biggest, one of the bigger nu metal songs.
Yeah.
Enid randomly just turns into a log, and like, I guess that's funny that's just weird on its own, but like, I don't know. I just wonder, like, how do kids think? What do kids think is going on with Enid turning into a log?
I mean, Enid turning like a ninja replacing themselves with a log. I mean, that's just a reference to ninjas.
I know, but
I know that that's something that is done on Naruto, but like, you know, like, I mean, that's a ninja thing.
Oh yeah,
that's like a general like ninja thing.
Yeah.
You know, similarly, you know, we've had like there's other people like in the show where it's like, oh, that guy, he's there. We have like a character called Joff the Shaolin monk, and people are like, it's Krillin, and it's like, well, actually, you know, he's a Shaolin monk, which is a reference to Shaolin monks. You know, like stuff like that. I think there are a lot of like cartoons and stuff that popularize, you know, certain character archetypes, and then, you know, you start to tilt at references that aren't actually there.
I mean, when I was in like early high school, 9th grade, like I was drawing Omi from Shaolin Showdown, and people thought I was drawing Krillin.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I bet they got it a lot.
Anyone have anything to say about OKKO?
Yeah, any other questions or anything? We can take questions from the stream.
Questions from the stream. Do you guys have any non-spoiler questions?
Yeah, a non-spoiler. Of course, I can't give a spoiler. I'm sorry.
Raichu Star says, question, related to some of Ian's pitches stories, did any of you have any ideas for a cartoon/comic from when you were really young that were either terrible or just straight up ripoffs of other cartoons?
I have so many. That's like all the stuff I made when I was a kid. I think like one of my first characters was like literally like Bart Simpson with different hair. He just had like black hair. Like it ended in a scribble of black hair instead of spikes.
Oh man.
And it's just like, yeah, my character. That's why I'm so like defensive. That's why I like I don't know, when fans do like their own stuff and like take characters and rip them off and do their own versions. Like I love that. Like I started out that way. I mean, like so.
Paradox just to rip off a Zim.
Hey now.
You know it's true.
I remember when I was younger, instead of like I used to draw a lot of Spider-Man stuff, and I was like, no, I am Spider-Man. So I made this crossover comic with like me as Spider-Man, Blossom from Powerpuff Girls, and then Captain Underpants, and we just fought crime and stuff, and I think I lost them. I only have one picture that remained from the purge,
lost media,
as I call it, lost media. Nolan's a Spider-Man crossover comic.
I'm trying to think what I drew. Well, I didn't really draw any weird crossovers, although I did draw a lot of like art I'm mom didn't like that.
I'm not.
She was a child.
Surprised.
I mean, like, okay, like I drew like Sonic the Hedgehog being shot by a bunch of missiles. This was like back when Sonic Adventure was the thing. Anyway, like I showed it to my mom, and she was like, I see," and then she started ripping it up in front of me. I mean, she was supportive of my art, but she did not want me drawing like Sonic getting blown up a billion times.
So when I was a kid, I wound up drawing. It was just essentially Tails, but with pants. Like I called him Bobcat because he didn't look anything like a Bobcat.
So he was Bubsy.
Basically, and like I was really into Dragon Ball Z at the time too. So like I drew another character that was just basically like not a samurai. It's just like a black-haired version of Tails, but with like generic samurai-looking like clothing, and his name was Tamurai the Samurai. Like I was amazing at titles and names.
I mean, you basically created the reverse of Bubsy, like a cat who wears pants this time.
That's true.
What could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong?
Are you guys excited that Bubsy is verified and ready to get back in the gaming industry?
Yeah, he's back. He's on Twitter. He's why are they doing this?
Memes.
I don't know, because people will probably pay for it.
For the ironic value.
Do it.
I like how there's that one Sonic-looking rip-off character on OKKO, that old man with the Sonic shoes.
Oh, Crinkly Wrinkly.
Yeah, who started off that weird episode. You know the one.
Is actually a background character from the pilot.
I remember, yeah.
When we were making the show and we wanted to make new characters, we just kind of went to the pilot and we're like, let's turn some of these weirdo background characters into actual characters, and he was one of them. And we were just like, what is this guy's deal?
Yeah.
And then we just kept like drawing him into stuff, and he got funnier and funnier.
What was the deal with the guy who runs the food truck? Why does he look like Gumball? Was that intentional?
Gumball?
No, like there's the guy in a food truck, and he kind of resembles Gumball.
Oh, Beardo?
Yeah, I think so.
I guess like because he's got like wispy beard hairs that maybe kind of look like Gumball's whiskers.
Yeah.
Beardo actually like predates Gumball from a really long time. That was from like a comic I did like way back in the day, like on the Something Awful forums. There was a character called Beardo at the end, and then I kind of reused him when I made the pilot.
Yeah, I just Googled him. He looks like he's blue, sure, but like doesn't remotely look like Gumball.
Well, I don't know. In the OKKO pilot, Liquid Plaza Turbo, that's what it looked like to me. Because that's the worst when you come up with a character and then someone makes a character that's eerily similar.
I mean, it's not that bad.
Nah, I mean,
there's like a billion ideas out there. You know, especially to like young artists who are like, oh God, my ideas are gonna get don't worry about it. Just make it.
Yeah, you know.
Someone makes a thing that's kind of similar. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, complain about it? Like, just make your thing. You can go on creating your thing. You're gonna do it differently anyway. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's
fine.
It doesn't matter who came first. All that matters is which one was better. You know.
I did come up with a question. I don't know if you're allowed to actually ask about or like answer it. We noticed that KO had a voice actor change in random episodes. Can you like talk about that? Like,
yeah, I can totally talk about it. Actually, no one's ever like asked me about it straight up.
Special move? Okay, my turn.
The answer is actually really boring, which is why I'm glad nobody asked me. The answer is like scheduling. When you make a show, the schedule is so much more intense. Before we made the show, we were just making a short every once in a while. There was like the mobile game and the pilot, which are like, they're kind of things that weren't happening like on a regular time frame and stuff. So when the actual show happened, it's just like schedules didn't work out. So, scheduling just sucks. There's a lot of things that go into making a TV show, and one of them is just making sure you can get all the people on the right schedule and stuff. And there's like, it's boring because it's so non-notable, since that happens all the time in ways that aren't really perceivable. We want to get a certain actor or a certain artist to work on an episode, and the schedules just don't work out, or it's too much of a commitment for the person at the time. It happens. I don't know. That's what it's like when you're creating a show,
How heartbroken were you, or like, were you upset about the change? Because obviously Kid Goku as your main character, it's so harmonious. Like, it's very like obvious that you had that voice in mind.
I mean, it's like I said, it's like one of those things where, it's hard to be super emotional about it, because it's like a clerical scheduling. It's like the most boring. It's like a problem you have on like an Excel spreadsheet. You know what I mean? So it's hard to talk about it in that way. I will say though, I'm really happy with the work that we did. So, and the thing that was good was that, we were able to use everything, any full episodes that she had recorded, we actually used like her voice in the final one. And, but we're working with Courtney Taylor, who's an amazing VA who has done like tons of video games, Mass Effect, Fallout, and she's like brought something to the role which is really amazing. And she's super fun. It's super fun, like messing around in the booth and doing like fun weird runs with KO and Rad and Enid. So I'm super happy with the show.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I have a question actually.
Yeah.
What I know that you really like that Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon that I guess I remember as the one that aired at 6 a.m.
Yes.
Which one?
Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog.
And it was because it was on at the same time as the Saturday morning one, which was confusing.
Yeah.
But was that? I mean, to me, that looks like it was a big influence on OKKO.
Now I see it.
Yeah, that's right on. That's like right on. It was a massive influence.
Oh, okay.
That show is hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
I think like at the time, like there's the Sat AM Sonic cartoon, and I think like definitely at the time when I was a kid, I was like, oh, Sat AM is the best. The weekday one is awful. I was totally like, I was so pretentious about it. But actually going back, the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog holds up, I think, really well and even better. Long John Baldry as Dr. Robotnik is hilarious. Every line read of him, it's so funny. It's just like a huge, fat, corpulent man who loves himself. It's hilarious. And then the robots are great, too. Scratch, Grounder. Yeah, and like, all those like, and that's a huge, huge inspiration on me.
That's actually why my little brother still eats chili dogs. Anytime I'm with him, he gets a chili dog. He's like, remember that Sonic cartoon? Because he liked chili dogs in the Adventures of Sonic, but not in the other one or something?
No, I think he liked them. I think he eventually liked them in both. And I think
I liked them in the game.
In Sat AM, they kind of, at least in Sat AM and the Archie comic, they kind of imply that like Sonic's uncle is really good at making chili dogs. I think something. Yeah.
They didn't carry that over to the games until Sonic Unleashed, when like eating food became like a good way to get XP.
I thought it was. I thought chili dogs were first mentioned in Black Knight, actually.
No, Unleashed predates Black Knight by a year.
Unleashed was first, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Nolan knows way too much about Sonic.
Yeah.
I do.
I
That's
desperately
great,
want
Nolan.
classic
You and
Sonic
I,
to talk.
you and I are going to be fast friends then.
Uh-oh.
All right. I look forward to it.
I really want classic Sonic in the games to be voiced by Urkel. Like, I want them-
White.
yeah, I want that to be brought over so badly.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, he's a lot older now.
Yeah.
so-
Have you seen that Sonic fan film where they brought back Urkel and he does not sound the same?
His if you ever have a chance to get that Sat AM DVD,
I got it.
There's an amazing special feature with Jaleel White talking about how he created the voice for Sonic, and it's actually like a really inspiring, like, if anyone's into voice acting, hearing his like sort of how he came up with it and like what he tried to do, how he kind of made like a cool guy. He's a cool dude, but he's not a specific cool dude. He's like part surfer, part street punk. He kind of took all these different voices and mixed them together. It's really, really inspiring. It's very cool.
Someone in the chat asked a really interesting question. I'm sorry, the chat's going up, so I really wanted to make sure it gets asked. If the Long John voice actor for Robotnik wasn't dead, would you have approached him for Boxman instead of Jim Cummings?
No. I always wanted to work with Jim. He's like a voice acting hero of mine. I forever. And as much as I loved Long John's Robotnik, but I also loved Jim's Robotnik. They're both really up there for me. I think Jim's Robotnik is really funny because it's like an evil guy who he's so into being evil that just doing evil things like makes him like super happy. And so like that voice is just like really funny to me. It's just hilarious. Yeah. And also Jim can do everything. He's amazing.
Yeah,
I love Jim Cummings.
For anyone listening, Jim Cummings did the voice of the Robotnik in the Sat-AM Sonic, what I thought was the best Sonic cartoon.
Literally anything Disney, you could probably like find out that Jim voiced something in it.
Yeah, Winnie the Pooh, the singing was it the singing voice for Scar?
He sang for Scar.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
He did the Scar song, which is like amazing. Go back and listen to it and like imagine Winnie the Pooh in your head, and you're like, holy crap.
Scar from Lion King.
Yeah. I have one Jim Cummings story. I actually have, I don't buy autographs. Like it's just not something I care about. But Jim Cummings was like one that I had to do. When the Dark Knight Rises movie came out, I drew the Dark Knight Rises with Taurus Bulba and like instead of a broken Batman helmet, it's the hat. And I didn't get to meet Jim Cummings at that time, but I had my friend Jake, because I was at a convention and he was at a different convention with Jim Cummings. So I had Jake print off a movie poster size of that and have it signed by Jim, and Jim like tweeted it out. And I got really, really excited. Then eventually he came to an Indianapolis convention. It was called Awesome Con, but there was like no one there, so it was more like Awkward Con. And so there was like no line, so I just basically got to chat with him for like 20 minutes. And when I came and I was like, hey, I saw you tweet this picture, so I printed off him a poster size version of it, and he asked for me to sign it. So I felt very like privileged that like a famous person asked for my autograph.
That's awesome.
I mean, I had a small local con and got to talk to Dana Schneider, the voice of Master Shake, for like 20 minutes. And I don't know, somehow I got into the topic of like, yeah, I do videos, I'm not, I don't brag, no. And I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I just told like, yeah, I did a podcast with people like C.H. Greenblatt and stuff. And it's like, oh yeah, here's my personal email. Message me and I'll probably be on. And, we're still figuring things out.
Oh, cool.
That's cool.
I mean, it was a small con nobody was at, and also Marceline's voice actor was there, Olivia Olson.
Oh, isn't she? She's from Love Actually, isn't she?
I think
Olivia
so.
Olson? Yeah, she was. Yeah. She was in that. Yeah.
She's the girl who I mean.
She sings. She sings "All I Want for Christmas Is You."
Yeah, my wife watches. I have to watch that every Christmas.
I'm sorry.
And it's her. It's her and Phineas is the boy who likes her, which I was when they both had voice roles on TV. I was like, this is hilarious, like Phineas and I never do that nerd shit where I'm like, it's Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch in the same movie, but with Love Actually, I guess I do.
Hey, do you guys mind if I blow through a couple chat questions?
Yeah. Go ahead.
That I see. This is from American Nightmare 23. Ian and Jim, I know this is the cliche, but what advice would you give to an aspiring show creator?
Just make it.
Yeah.
Because that was
exactly what I was gonna say.
That was our big thing. Because the other thing is we were literally the year anniversary of us graduating college is when Nock first went up.
Yep.
Literally. And people would ask me, like, no one who was in our peer group was really making that much stuff. It was pretty rare. And people would we'd get that at parties and stuff, like, how did you do it? And I go, well, we just did it.
You just did it.
We started developing it. We didn't know if it was going to work, but we were like, we can't just sit around in our shitty jobs and stuff. We got to do something. And that's
I've said it a lot. Like stop describing yourself as aspiring. Just do the thing, and then take the word aspiring out. Stop being an aspiring.
No, absolutely.
Like show creator, make a show.
Or if you're sitting around and you're like, how come no one's made this kind of video or this kind of show? Most of the time you can do that now. It's like there's lots of times where, whether it's a review or a Nock Force cartoon, where we went, why don't we just do it? And we did it, and we're like much happier that it feels better, like personally. Once it's done, you're like, okay, I got that out, and now I can do another thing. It's like really refreshing, honestly.
Yeah.
Also, I know the question wasn't directed to me, but I also think it's something I learned from making my own stuff is don't worry so much about being a perfectionist. Because you see things from the whole, you see the whole picture, whereas everybody sees like kind of what you present them. So you see every single flaw and every single thing in the thing you make, and you're like, oh, this is terrible. Yeah. But chances are a lot of people are not going to notice half or more of the things you do. So
that's actually
also,
unless you point them out to them and then you shoot yourself in the foot, by all means.
And if you get good at like making your own stuff, eventually someone will be like, hey, do you want to make a thing, and then I'll pay you for it, because you've already shown that you can make things. And I think that, a lot of people don't consider that that's a huge part of it. People think that someone's just going to show up and be like, hey, will you make a thing for me and I'll pay you? But if you don't have stuff you've made, how will they know how to find you?
Yeah.
You should just make stuff.
Actually, one modern success story of that is Andy Muschietti. I might be mispronouncing that name, but the guy who directed it, he directed Mama before that, and how he got Mama was he made this short film also called Mama, and Guillermo del Toro saw it and said, I want to give this guy money to make a movie. And then he made Mama, and now he's made It, which is this huge thing. And same with like any huge director or animator, it's usually like they just were making stuff because they had to do it, and then they eventually got to be who they are. But there was, from someone who went to like film school, there's so many kids who say, well, if I had $1 million, then I'd really do this. And I'd always look at them, but now they like don't do anything because they never got in the process to do that thing that cost $1 million.
So don't think about it, don't talk about it, do it. Another quick question: Greg B. Archstream asked me who was in charge of the sound effects. And they love how Rad's Ray's Jetson stinger. That was something I have been working on since the pilot. Sort of one of the ideas for the show is that it's like a anime video game world, but it has Hanna-Barbera DNA in the world. So like objects make Hanna-Barbera sounds. And like a lot of times what we do, it's kind of imperceivable. Rad's Ray is, it's that classic Hanna-Barbera sound, but actually Enid and KO have Hanna-Barbera sounds mixed in on their powers too. Enid's, well, I'll tell you KO's, you can listen to it. If you ever hear him fire off a punch, if you listen really closely, you can hear like an El Kabong sound. And I would say like most times we do like sound effects. I always try to mix a Hanna-Barbera sound in with real Foley and realistic noise, just because I love that texture and I love Hanna-Barbera cartoons. So yeah.
That kind of reminds me of how Law and Order's Dun Dun is just literally like mixes like a judge gavel and like a police siren and locked jail cells, like all of these crime noises just in one thing, and that's what the Law and Order sound effect is.
And tell them exactly how you feel. You've got nothing to lose, and you'll always regret it if you don't. Don't let the holidays go by without Love Actually. Hello. Rated R.
Although I kind of want to go back to like since we were talking about the movie Love Actually with since Marceline was in it.
What?
I have a terrible story that happened in high school relating to Love Actually.
Oh God. Okay. Fine.
I don't know if I ever told this, but basically.
No, you didn't.
I didn't.
No, I wouldn't have. If I knew there was a terrible story, I wouldn't have brought it up.
Okay, so basically in high school, I don't know, it was like I guess near Christmas, and we were watching a movie, and like the teacher just put on Love Actually, thinking it was a PG-13 movie when it really wasn't. It was an R-rated movie, and there's, I mean, a big subplot that takes place in like a, you know, there's a lot of sex.
It's like a porn. It's a porn shoot.
Yeah,
but there's stand-ins for a porn shoot.
Yeah, there's a lot of sex scenes in the movie that are very graphic. Well, as graphic as R-rated can get, I guess. Yeah. But the teacher didn't know that, and she wasn't watching the movie too. She was just like working on her desk, and we were just, all the students were like, should we be watching this? And like some other teacher comes into the room, and like she wasn't even looking at the screen. She was just talking to the other teacher, and none of the teachers brought up anything. And like the scene was going on screen, and we're like, what's going on? We were all just confused.
That reminds me of when I was in my 2D design class and my teacher put on the movie Perfect Blue by Satoshi Kon, and it got to the burlesque scene, and it was really graphic and horrible, and like it made some of the students visibly uncomfortable. And he's just talking about the cinematography, and I'm like, dude, I don't know if the school board would be okay with this.
I mean, also later I asked the teacher, like, so did you know that movie was R-rated? And she's like, no, it's PG-13. It's like, lady, no, it's R-rated. Look at the box. It's like, oh, okay. And then later, like, I think the next time we had like a vacation day, like she said, sorry everyone, Pan informed me that the movie's PG-13, so it's not PG-13, so we can't watch it. It's like, whoa, like she freaking just laid the blame out on me in front of everyone.
She doesn't know snitches get stitches. She shouldn't.
She snitched on me. Well, I snitched on. Wait, did I snitch on her? I don't even know.
I mean, you kind of snitched. You can't be snitching.
Dang.
You snitched on her to her face.
Dang. Well, that's something. Yeah, but let's go into the questions.
I have a question for Ian, actually.
What up?
What do you think of Sonic Forces?
Well, I got to play it a couple times. What I've played of it so far, I thought was okay. I didn't get to make a custom character though. All the times, so I haven't gotten to mess around with that. But I played the custom character stage, and it was interesting. It's kind of like a mix of like weird like platforming and like a few like semi-speed sections. Mm-hmm. It was very like, yeah, I don't know. I'm sure it'll be okay. I don't know. I mean, it's Sonic, so I'm gonna buy it. But
yeah, I heard the Switch version was really, really bad and poorly optimized. But I also saw the new Casino Forest gameplay, and classic Sonic slope physics have just seemed to be completely removed.
Well, I mean, if you want that, you have Sonic Mania. So
True. Mania is pretty.
They're purposefully segmenting up their fan base, and I think that's a really smart idea for them to do because you don't want everybody like picks up like these modern Sonic games and they're like, what the heck? This isn't Sonic. And it's like, well, they gave you one You know, they gave one for all of us who wanted that, you know, myself included, you know. But I think, you know, that Sonic Forces, it's targeted at like a market that exists that really wants that game. And, you know, I say more power to that. I'm going to play it.
Same. I just upped my PC, so I'm really excited to play it. I just hope I have the right specs. I mean, the Sonic modding community is honestly the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
Did you know that in Generations they made a mod for like Knuckles and Tails, and they can both fly and glide?
Yeah, I've seen that one. It's pretty insane.
I love Sonic Generations mods so much.
Ian, you're a fan of Sonic. Do you have any embarrassing stories pertaining to Sonic, like every Sonic fan?
Embarrassing stories? Like stories of me getting humiliated, or
well, just, you know, I think you can't.
I have stories myself doing embarrassing things relating to Sonic. I think when Sonic Underground, the show Sonic Underground came out, I disliked it so much that I wrote like a parody song about how much it was bad. I never like performed it or anything.
Wait,
I think I just wrote it down. I think I just wrote it down in
of?
text, and I like posted it on maybe like Ken Pender's forum or something.
Oh no! Not Ken Penders.
No.
What song was it a parody of?
It was a song. It was like a parody of the opening of Sonic Underground about how bad it was. And you know, it's like one of those things that it didn't work in text. I wish I could find it now. Yeah.
Oh my god, I hate Sonic Underground. Yeah, it's like Phineas and Ferb meets Sad AM, I think.
I mean, honestly, Sonic Underground, if it didn't have the musical instruments and the weird brother and sister thing, like it's kind of darker than the other two in the sense of like Robotnik already won. Like they're underground, they're running away. You know, like they're like everything's lost and they're trying to get their, you know, the bearings again.
But yeah, I mean, now I'm not as vitriolic about it, but I remember at the time, you know, I was a teenager, so emotions ran high with everything, and I was just like, this is the worst. Yeah.
I mean, I liked it when I saw it. I actually ran into UPN. It was showing like syndicated episodes of it, and I was just like, oh, cool, another Sonic cartoon. I was just excited to have another Sonic cartoon.
I was just like psyched that there was like an episode where they included Knuckles' grandfather, Athair, from the comics, where I was like, whoa, they really did it. And he sounded like Sean Connery. And
oh, I remember that now.
Yeah. But yeah. Are there any other stream chat questions? Because I feel like I see the same people asking things.
I like how whenever we have guests over, we end up just talking about Sonic the Hedgehog. Almost.
Yeah, that seems to happen.
Hang on. Oh, well, let's take a chat question from like the YouTube comments. Justin Trademark says, question, what modern cartoons that people would love if it aired 10 years ago? And wait, crap, how do you read this?
Wait, what?
Okay, if a modern day cartoon, think of a modern day cartoon, and if it were to release 10 years ago, which cartoon would be hated today but loved by nostalgia value back then?
That question is so heady. I'll let someone else answer.
I'm really confused by that.
Okay. Well, let's say
So like, if there was a show now that would started then, we'd be nostalgic for it now. Is that what they're saying?
Okay, hang on. Okay, well, let me give an example. Like, I guess the reverse of that question, like, if Cow and Chicken was released today, people would hate it. It would be disgusting. Everyone would be like, why are they airing this garbage on Cartoon Network?
I actually think Cow and Chicken's one that I was actually a little into. Cow and Chicken. I had like a VHS tape of some Cow and Chicken for a little bit.
I love Cow and Chicken.
Yeah, I never understood why that hasn't really gotten the
Cow and Chicken was hilarious. Boneless Chicken was super funny.
Yeah.
Like, when's that getting the nostalgia love?
Their teacher was hilarious. That show is really good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like people are really harsh on stuff though. So
yeah, like
I mean, I feel like that could, if I'm interpreting whatever this question is, if that aired now, I think that would do well because comedy is so big on Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon and stuff.
I think they might be referring to the fact that, like, as far as humor goes, it's pretty raunchier than compared to things on TV now.
Like
people. It did feel like that and Flapjack, where it felt like you're like, how did they get this on, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which I thought was fun. More so with Flapjack. I was like, whoa, how'd this get on TV? But I loved Flapjack a lot. But
yeah, but I think, if Cow and Chicken was made today, I feel like people would criticize it the same way they criticize like Uncle Grandpa and Secret Mountain Fort Awesome, where it's like, oh, this is disgusting, I'm not gonna watch this, even though a lot of these commenters are, I think, in their 20s or 15s. I don't know.
Yeah,
late teens or
I do sort of think, and maybe this is not how to interpret this question, but I feel like in about 20 years, Adventure Time's going to have a huge nostalgia boom.
Yeah.
Like, because it's like people are kind of, I guess, a little more done with it at this point. But like when it's gone for a little bit, I feel like people will go, hey, remember when that show was really big? Because it was such a part of the early 2010s. I feel like when 2010 nostalgia hits, people are going to be like, let's reboot Adventure Time or something.
Oh, yeah.
I totally see that one happening, you know.
Here's a counter question to that. At what age? Because I think everyone at a certain point enjoyed all cartoons that was on the air. Like, we didn't discriminate. We just kind of like whatever was on the TV we watched, you know? And then at a certain point, now we're very selective and choosy about what shows we're watching. Like, we only have like 5 that at most. Most people are like, yeah, those are the current ones I'm on. What age did we start being selective about cartoons?
I actually think part of the thing with that is like, I grew up in a time where I would literally just get up early to be there when Saturday morning cartoons started, and we would just watch the whole thing from beginning to end. It didn't matter if we liked like a show like Tasmania or something, we were going to watch it. But now it's all on demand and stuff. And so kids, when I see a kid now, they know they have to go to Netflix and they're going to watch this show and they're going to do this thing. Like, I don't think you could get a kid to sit there and watch a block of shows. So I think like that's the big difference.
I don't think I ever became that kid because I had a voracious appetite for anything animated because I loved cartoons so much. Even if I didn't totally 100% like a show, I'd watch it anyway just because it was a cartoon. And I was fascinated by animation, so it didn't really matter to me. I used to take our family's TV guide and highlight everything that was animated and just watch everything.
That happened to me when, I guess during high school, like during like 2008, 2009 Cartoon Network, like all the stuff, like My Gym Partner's a Monkey and Chowder. Like I wasn't into, like later on I got into Chowder and not so much My Gym Partner's a Monkey, but you know. Oh, let's see. RCH says 125 says, question, Ian, what's your favorite OKKO episode?
I can't pick a favorite. They're all my children. I love them so much.
I was going to make that comparison.
Yeah, they're all good. I would say it's whichever one is on next in your time zone, so you should watch it.
Yeah, let's see. Hang on, we buried.
What a sellout.
Thanks for not answering that question.
You're welcome.
Yeah. AJ Fave says, question for Ian. What are your thoughts about New York Comic Con having the Cartoon Network panel, the Titmouse panel, and the voiceover panel for Twisted Toons at the same time on Saturday, making animation fans such as myself choose which panel to go to?
Wow. I don't work for New York Comic Con, so it's hard for me to answer that.
Yeah.
I think they're asking the opinion of the situation.
Yeah.
Oh, like my thoughts on it?
Yes.
It's a con, so choose the one that you like the best and go to that one.
I mean, like,
and then if you're going to the con with some friends, you all split up, you record all the panels, then you like go later, switch phones, watch everything you missed.
You can't just send the files. You have to switch the.
You have to switch phones.
File sharing's illegal now.
the files are going to be huge.
Yeah.
Like just switch phones. That's fine.
I mean,
don't look
the internet doesn't work that well in the Javits Center, so you're gonna have problems.
Yeah.
Also, I feel bad for Rojo Bear because he's been asking this about 50 million times. Has Scott Pilgrim versus the World influenced OKKO at all, Ian?
Oh, Scott Pilgrim? Not really directly OKKO. I would say that I know that I have a lot of the same inspirations that Brian Lee O'Malley has. I know he's a huge fan of Osamu Tezuka and, old video games. And, we're definitely drawing from the same well. I can't think of a specific way that influenced the show itself. It's definitely like Scott Pilgrim is like, it definitely informed. It had like it encapsulated a lot of things that a certain type of nerd really likes, and I would include myself in there. So yeah.
Yeah. Follow-up question: did you see the Osamu Tezuka secret furry drawings?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
that was hilarious.
Dude.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense. If you should check out his biography. They put out this incredible biography Tezuka Productions did that's all about his young life and him getting into comics and him opening an animation studio. It's super interesting. But very early on, as a kid, he's there's a thing that I like, and he likes transformations. He likes stuff where it's animals and and he's very much unabashed, this is what I'm interested in.
I see a lot of myself in him.
I mean, it's only good. The more honest an artist can get, the better.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
Stamp Walk says, question, when can we buy OKKO merch? When's that coming? Is that ever coming out?
Oh, gosh. That's another one of those questions where it's I wish I could tell you, but I don't know.
Dang.
I just make the show. It's kind of up to everybody else to do all the other things. That's someone's job that I don't. Yeah, I don't have.
I'm remembering, hey, whatever happened to Garnet's Hulk hands? I remember at some toy fair, they had photos of, Hulk hands, but designed like Garnet's gloves, and it's
no.
What happened?
I want those.
Yeah, why isn't that ever released?
I don't know. I wish I could tell you guys.
Yeah. Darn. But going back to the Comic-Con question about, multiple things going on at the same time for animation, that happened during 2016 Comic-Con, there was not that much animation going on for panels, but this Comic-Con for 2017, there was a ton, and it was I got to pick and choose which one I do want to go to, because Turner Broadcast has one all throughout the day in the Ballroom 20 floor, and at the same day, they have Star Versus and Buddy Thunderstruck. It's great, now I got to pick and choose which one I want to go to see. And how many other questions? Because Ian, don't you have to go somewhere?
I do, but I do want to take as many of the stream questions as possible, or if you guys have any other interview style things you want to ask about, or we could talk about cartoons, whatever.
Oh,
I have a question.
What's up?
Will there ever be a spider-themed hero that'll show up soon?
Spider-themed.
Yeah, that wraps people up, Hong Kong.
Yeah, that wraps people up, specifically either Rad or Beardo. I'm not speaking on my own behalf, but just for a friend.
I can't say anything specific. Keep watching the show.
Yeah. Oh,
that would end up being a spoiler. Come on.
Yeah. Let's see.
I'm just saying, that there's. Oh, God damn it.
TNT3 races is OKKO's crew secretly furries?
Is the crew secretly furries?
Yeah, we saw that episode about the furries,
Oh yeah. I'm not personally a furry, but I would say that, we definitely have fur sympathetic people on the crew. And I'm sympathetic.
Fur apologists.
you know,
I've never heard that
know.
term before. I'm sorry. No. Like
I would say there's a lot of amazing artists and cartoonists who draw anthropomorphic animals.
Oh boy.
And you know, that's like it's a huge part of our childhoods, like animal cartoons and characters. And you know, that episode was just a huge like tribute to all of that, like, you know, all the stuff we grew up with.
Oh, Plastic Robot Studio says, question, what's inspired Ian's off-model obsession? Because
I would, so it's kind of something that we watched, that we talked about earlier. The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog had this really funny animation style where the characters could like do like practically anything. When I was growing up, I loved characters that, like, you know, I loved when animation could get like weird and strange. I would say going back to like Fleischer cartoons, like characters like squashing and stretching and like turning into stuff, and a lot of like objects coming alive and like getting kind of weird. And when I started working in the industry, a lot of people who I worked with worked on Flapjack and Adventure Time, which I worked on as well. And the great thing about those shows is that the adherence to the model sheet wasn't super set in stone. So you actually got to see like a lot of like, incredible individuality in the storyboarders. If you go back and watch a Penn Ward boarded episode of Flapjack, like you see his like style like come through. Mm-hmm. And that's just really fun to me. It's weird. You know, I've talked about things going off model and how much I like it. And for some reason, that started spreading this like kind of rumor or meme that I don't use model sheets, that the shows don't have model sheets or reference. But that's untrue. Every single thing we do has a model sheet. We have to create reference for every single moving prop, character, object, background. I mean, we use model sheets for everything. But to me, I like when things go off model because you get to see more of the individuality of the artist behind them. And I think you get to have, it's kind of like a risk reward thing. Like, you know, sure, the character might like change height or something. If that's like something you're really like freaked out about, I'm really sorry. But like, you also, the reward to that is you get more unique drawings, more funny drawings, more like silly drawings, like more drawings that you can just like laugh at, you know? So yeah, that's pretty much what inspired that. One of the things that when I worked on Adventure Time and I was like, you know, doing storyboards, one of the things Penn said to me really made like a big impression on me. Was like, he was like asking me like, what is a joke? And I was just sort of like, oh, you know, it's when one character does something and then another character says something else. And he was like, you know, a joke isn't just like a setup and a punchline. A joke can be like, what's like a funny face that someone makes, or like what's the awkward way someone sits down in a chair, or what's the weird way someone eats a sandwich, or like, you know, like I feel like a funny drawing is the best way to express that kind of like joke telling, and it's something I'm really, really big into. And I think that I don't know, for me personally, when I see a show and the characters can make weird faces and change and morph and grow and do whatever just to like fit the situation, like that's a show I want to watch.
Yeah, because like the early episodes of Steven Universe, like I found it very jarring at first, but then I just grew used to it and found just loved how ridiculous some of the faces became. I mean, like they're not very just like trying to be ridiculous, but they're just like goofy looking sometimes. Just
I mean, I'm not gonna go super into the weeds, but it's especially funny with Steven Universe because like, you know, from the beginning, like, you know, that was like part of the thought was like, you know, we're gonna make this like funny, weird cartoon, and they're all gonna make weird faces, and they're gonna like, you know, grow and shift like with regards to like where they're placed in the frame or like what they're doing. And, you know, I feel like, you know, it's something that's purposeful, but I understand it's not to everyone's taste. But if it's not to your taste, there are a lot of cartoons that adhere like very strictly to character models that you can watch.
Yeah, for the sake of like transparency and just being flat out honest, I'm usually one of the detractors of that type of mindset. But I was curious to know, like, with Steven Universe, it was a more plot oriented show as it went on. So do you think like like that sort of off model sort of mindset, like shit stuck around, or do you think it was still appropriate? Because with the I think
I do. Yeah. I do. I do think it's appropriate.
All right.
And I feel like, but I feel like it's not to your taste. So, I mean, it's like an opinion. So, there's lots of other stuff you can watch that does like super on model drawings,
Mm-hmm.
If you want that, you can watch like another show. But, the whole point of Steven Universe is that, Steven is like a funny cartoon boy. These are wacky cartoon characters. All of their powers are based off of like weird toony things. And it's like if that part of the show is not to your taste, I mean, there's
Hey, you guys know how to work this TV? I tried the button, but it doesn't go.
Go back inside!
Oh, you guys are fighting.
We're fighting!
Right.
It's not ever going to turn into Justice League Unlimited. So, you could watch one of those shows or something.
We could all watch Static Shock and see how terrible digital compositing was in the early 2000s.
I mean, yeah.
And a cameo by Shaquille O'Neal.
There's a wealth of cartoons out there, and it's like you don't have to like everything about the style of every show.
I will say, even though I'm not the biggest fan of the art style, I do love all of your color choices and the line drawings. I really like how rough they are. It looks very nice. At least the color choices and the rough pencil art.
That's very gracious of you.
Even though Nolan just said, never mind.
That's
never mind.
I'm just being honest.
Yeah, hey,
I mean, I don't feel like being like placating or anything.
I can't wait till Lil Romeo does the intro music for season 4 of Steven Universe. Superhero Steven Universe. Whoop whoop.
I'm confused.
Lil Romeo did the intro to like the final season of Static Shock.
Oh, really?
I knew that, and I still thought it was a horrible joke.
Look, there was a lot of weird celebrity guest stars in Static Shock for some reason. Like, it was a good show, but everyone will agree that the guest stars were pretty dumb.
It was a good show after season 2.
Yeah.
And, like, season 1 was really awkward, especially with the dialogue, because it was definitely, like, it felt like it was trying to be something that the writers weren't really comfortable writing. Mostly the quote-unquote jive talk or whatever. I don't know what to call it. But they were just, like, over-the-top urban youth language. And then, like, once they stopped, like, trying that so hard, it became natural dialogue during season 2. And they also got Virgil out of whatever that clown outfit was.
Yeah, he was wearing, like, that McDonald's red and yellow outfit. And all the colors were bright neon.
It was just this rainbow shirt that looked like a McDonald's uniform shirt.
It almost looked like Flash animated in a way. I mean,
and then they're like, "Oh, screw it, we'll just put him in a sweater that looks really great." And then like, go ahead.
I really hate like early 2000s anime because like that was also the beginning of computer animation, and all the colors were very vibrant. Like I think Tenchi Muyo GXP and Gundam Seed, I think it was one of the Gundams that aired in the 2000s that looks so saturated and clean. I don't know, like I hated anime in that time, the style of it. Anyway, yeah.
This isn't a question, but Nerdbane says Pan has this uncanny ability to embarrass himself in front of guests.
Fact.
No regrets.
Superpower. That's his
I could think of a few regrets you could have, honestly,
like,
but if that's your prerogative.
Name some.
Totally fine. I'm not surprised by any of this.
Ian, you've seen me in person. Was there any embarrassing moments we've had?
In person?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear this, especially. On Ian.
Han, okay, there was one Comic-Con where you ran up to me and I was like going from a panel to a signing or like a press thing, and I was super out of it, and you ran up to me, and I didn't recognize you for like a quick second, and I thought you were Pan Pizza, and you were like, oh, you said like another name. You said you're like, I'm a YouTube reviewer. I can't remember.
I said, it's me, Mr. Enter. Hello.
And I was like, wait, what? I was just confused.
Ian, did you feel yourself like astral project? Like,
no, I was just confused. Like, you know, those conventions are like a crazy experience because I have to do a lot of events and go from one place to another, and like lots of people are coming up to you and saying things, and like, you know, so like you came up, you misidentified yourself, and I was just like, wait, what? Because I thought you were Pan, and then you said that you were Mr. Enter, and I was like, huh? And it just confused me. So there you go. I mean, I guess it was pretty funny, I guess, but yeah. Anyway.
I think it was Ian later told me Pan had done this, and he said some other name, and I just went, did he say Mr. Enter? Because I instantly knew you said Mr. Enter. I was like, it had to be Mr. Enter.
Somebody, American Nightmare 23 asked worst fan experiences or just experiences with a person in general, probably.
Oh, I'm not going to tell you that.
Yeah.
We can go to the next one.
No.
Okay. Exo Toro asked this multiple times. Why did you change Enid's design? I'm guessing from the pilot to the finished show.
Wiener nose.
Oh. Yeah, we changed like all of the designs. The pilot was done. I started working on it in 2011. That was a really long time ago, and we had just drawn the characters a lot, like myself, and then Toby Jones, who is the co-executive producer on the show, and we had drawn the characters like millions of times, and then the characters just, you know, when you draw a character over and over and over, eventually they just kind of start to morph and change into something else, and you know, I'm a big proponent of, if you don't like how you do something, or you don't like how a drawing is, you should just change it to the thing that you do like. Yeah. You shouldn't make a decision and then get stuck in it.
Because in the last week, apparently, at some point, I was defensive, and I don't remember it, but like I had a couple messages where someone's like, "So what's up with you getting defensive on the podcast?" And my only response was like, "Well, I'm human. You know, it's a character trait of mine. That's the thing that makes me me." You know, and I don't. There's a lot of people that like tend to get like, they're outsiders, they're spectators, and they see these changes and such that we might not be aware of, and they're just like very like condescendingly like, why would you do that? Why'd you do that? And you're like, you weren't in the heat of the moment. Like, it's much easier to like dwell on something after it's done versus like when it happens. So I just find that like that relates to me a lot, what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, we're all human. We change, we grow, we make better decisions on the characters we draw. It's, you know, it's good to be fluid. Yeah. Having like rigid definitions on, you know, oh, this is good, this is bad, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. You know, when it comes to art, it's, you know, it's not super helpful. What's important is what works in that moment to convey the thought that you want to convey to the audience, you know, and, you know, it's something we all do as artists.
Mm-hmm. Also, I find it funny how, like, both Enid and Raven from Teen Titans, like, Raven's original design also had, like, that same, like, loincloth sort of design, and they both changed it for animation because it's, I guess it's easier to animate because having a loincloth thing is too hard.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I hated drawing that stupid flap, so, yeah.
Okay, how do you feel about a lot of people tend to associate detail with skill level or good? Like, when Steven Universe went from pilot to the final show, the character designs went more simple, and a lot of people tend to like, well, the other one was detailed, so it's better.
Ugh.
And it's such like
I get that, because when I was young, I used to look at really detailed drawings and just think they were good just because they had a lot of detail. You know, I mean, about the Steven pilot, and all pilots in general is that, usually they're made super quick with super low budgets and not that much of a staff. A lot of times designs and creative choices that you see in pilots, they are not complete. Like the character maybe needed a couple more rounds of design ideas and color ideas to get to be final. And I know that that's true for the Steven pilot and the OKKO pilot as well. So yeah, things change because, oftentimes a pilot is just like an early rough draft.
People refine things over time. Like for me, my character for Loki IRL, the main character, his design is so hard to draw. Like it only looks good from the side, and whenever I have to show like a 3/4 view, it looks terrible. So it's like, you know what, I got to change this, and it's for the better. It'll make sense in the story, so it won't be a jarring change really. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you should just go on and just draw what's best.
Yeah. It's just constantly refining it. Like I remember Danny Antonucci saying how every time you draw something, you're constantly refining it and changing how you draw because, yeah.
Absolutely.
Ooh, but is that all for questions or just what?
Let's do one more.
Oh man, okay, let's see. All right.
Question: what's your thought on representation on cartoons, and what's the best way to? The chat went too fast, ain't it? Sprinkle Butt 99 asks, question: what's your thought on representation on cartoons, and what's the best way to write diversity? Also, thanks for Izzy and Nolan for being an inspiration for me. Heart.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Ian, take the floor. Take the mic.
Oh, my specific feeling on it? I mean, it's
yeah, you run the show.
If we're gonna talk about this stuff, I can just say like I'm black, and for me it's I don't know, it's hard for me I don't really think about it too much. I kind of just write about the people I know and the friends that I have. Not really looking to check any specific boxes or anything like that. I'm just sort of being true to my experience. So
it is always better to write what you know instead of trying to come up with something and it ends up just feeling like artificial and not from the heart.
Yeah. I mean, all my characters
I don't know how to answer that for somebody else's POV. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I don't know. 90% of my characters are Mexican, so I don't know.
I think it's just, to have it from the right perspective of, to have shows from different cultural backgrounds and races and such, and, do them the best way you can, and so you can basically be, I don't know, I'm not saying this very well at all. I mean, I would just think about how, on Sesame, because I watch Sesame Street now, that they have a lot of what?
Is it your favorite show?
It's becoming it's the show I watch the most now, so I guess it probably is. But they do really well with representation because they naturally just have a character who Rosita or Telly and his little lamb and stuff like that, and I think that works well with representation, but it also works in that you don't actually know, what they're just monsters. They're not, each of those.
Whoa there.
What? No.
that was Jin.
No, they meet on Sesame Street, not other. Oh God.
Muppets are not monsters.
No, they are actually Elmo's.
This is an Avenue Q.
Elmo's technically a monster, but Elmo.
Rude.
Yeah, they call themselves monsters.
Yeah, they call. Yes,
Jim, you're digging your hole. You're digging.
I know. Cookie Monster does that.
Quits.
But Elmo, for example, who's my daughter's favorite, is
Elmo's always everyone's favorite. Why is your daughter such a mainstream?
Yeah,
well, I think it's because Elmo is red, and when you're a kid and you see a little red guy making a similar kid voice, you're just going to be attracted to that. But he's normally voiced by a black guy, but nobody associates race with Elmo, and I think that's one of the great things about sometimes doing representation in that show. I noticed is that you can have all these things, but you're not really thinking about it, but you're still watching a multicultural show. You're just not, it's not as, I guess, wouldn't annoy. So I'm sure there are people who watch Sesame Street who, if you had each of the people doing the Muppets in a show, they wouldn't watch that show. So I'm not sure where I'm going with this. I'm sorry. This started in a good place, but
I like to think that like it should happen naturally and organically, and not to be like by numbers. Because I feel like once you start like, okay, we have to have we're putting a number quota onto everything, it makes me rather uncomfortable. But like for example, if there's a trans character in cartoons, I don't necessarily want their only thing to be the fact that they're the trans character. They're a person and a character first, and they just happen to be trans. And go ahead.
I feel representation should be incidental to the character and not the central, like the sun to the solar system, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, like once you're like making stories where it's just like, they're queer and that's their thing, and I don't know, it just is a disservice to the character themselves.
I feel the only time when representation should be a thing is if you're making either a period piece or something specifically about like racism, sexism, etc. When that's when it really matters.
If you have an actor who could do a character really well, it shouldn't matter what race they are. It should just matter how well they can do the character.
That too.
It's like that stupid, like from years ago, that Johnny Storm, Michael B. Jordan thing. When I heard that, I was like, oh, Michael B. Jordan's great. That's perfect. But a lot of people got upset because I guess Johnny Storm has to be white or something. And like, to me, that should be how you do representation, is you find the best actor, and let's say it is not, who can do the character the best way, not just how it's written or in the comic book, I guess.
Going back to monsters, I like that scene in the second Ninja Turtles movie, the Out of the Shadows, the Michael Bay one, where.
Oh, that's not the second Ninja Turtles movie.
The second Michael Bay Ninja Turtles movie.
6th or 7th.
Oh, just to be specific, the Out of the Shadows, the 2014-15 one, where I
got really excited, Pan. I thought you were going to talk about the Secret of the Ooze.
No,
I thought we were going to do Secret of the Ooze.
Hey God, this is a scene that nobody ever brings up, that only I love. But it was the scene where the turtles are trying to break into a police headquarters, and like the police have guns pointed at the turtles, and like the police are like, what are they? They're monsters. They're monsters. And Mikey's like, we're not monsters.
Get down on the ground. Wait, we're the good guys. Get on the ground.
What are those things? They're monsters. They're monsters.
We're not monsters.
We're not monsters.
And Mikey cries.
Yes.
Oh man, that was like not. We're making this scene sound a lot better than it is. I'm just gonna say, like, if you turn on this movie tonight, you'll be like, oh, this movie's really bad. Like, Out of the Shadows is not a good movie. And then Bebop and Rocksteady are in that one, and Krang, but it like doesn't. That was a bad movie.
And like in that scene, like Megan Fox comes up and like blocks the path from like, tries to be the human shield to the turtles, and she says, go, run, go now.
Go now!
It was surprising when they shot Megan Fox and they tried to cover it up. I was like, that was the part of the movie I didn't see coming. Did you see that coming? Like, I was, because they were like, who's Megan Fox? Who is this? Who's April O'Neil? I don't think she even existed. And they just erase her identity. That was a pretty shocking part of that.
Wow, okay.
Check it out tonight.
Wow, okay. The Turtles Out of the Shadows, yeah. So, is that all?
You can watch a good Ninja Turtle sequel and watch Secret to the Ooze.
Yeah.
I was hoping you were going to tell a story about Kino or something.
Nobody cares about Kino.
Everyone loves Kino.
Oh, the pizza delivery boy, whoopie-doo.
I love Kino. Wasn't he the original Ninja Turtle or something in the first one? What was the deal with that? I forget.
What happened to Danny? Where'd he go? Like from the first movie?
Oh, the guy who was
the kid,
Casey Joe.
No,
the kid.
Yeah, from the first movie.
Oh, what didn't they have a fan theory or something? I feel like there's.
I remember like Workaholics had an episode where they ended up under a sewer, and they're trapped in there, and they're all saying which Ninja Turtle are each of us, and one of them just says to the other,
you're not Leonardo. You're a member of the Foot Clan. You were a Foot Clan member.
What'd you just say?
You're not just a member. You're Danny.
Danny?
You're that punk bitch Danny.
Danny?
Yeah, you're Danny.
I'm Leonardo.
No, you're Danny.
Katana Strike.
Oh, God, there's poop. There's poop in that water.
Are
I'm not a loser.
It's the same thing with Mikey, except he starts crying and saying, "I'm not a loser.
I'm not a monster."
I think we covered it. I think we've been through a spectrum of visceral experiences on this podcast.
Yeah,
I would say so.
Yeah. Because Ian, you got busy things to do.
Yeah. I got to take off, but I'm having a good time talking with you guys.
Oh yeah. Well, this was fun. Like you can come on again some other day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was great being in a thing with Jim again.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, of course.
They really want you to sing the Knock song, but
we like talked about it when like we talked on the phone. I was talking about wanting to be on the podcast, but it's like really, especially like if Jim's on it, like so we can talk about Nock for us and all that stuff. So that was really fun.
No, I had fun as well.
Yeah. We recorded 2 hours. So, you guys want to say goodbye to the chat?
Yeah, absolutely.
Goodbye, friends.
Goodbye, chat.
Goodbye, everyone. Play us out, Emily.
Goodbye, everyone.
Play us out, Emily and Stephanie.
Watch OKKO on Cartoon Network.
Yeah, watch OKKO. Do not let Emily and Stephanie near it.
Oh, man.
Okay, first of all, whenever he says Emily and Stephanie sing the podcast out, he always switches into the Stephanie voice. So is he Stephanie or is Stephanie a separate character on this podcast?
I don't know.
Because it does not seem very consistent.
I don't know, and I don't want to find out. Goodbye, everyone.
Thanks, Chad. Goodbye, Chad.
Oh, I love that corn guy was in the show. I really like that character.
Something takes a part of me.
Something's lost and never seen.
Every time I start to believe,
something's raped and taken from me.
From me. Life's gotta always be messing with me. Sometimes I cannot take this place.
Sometimes it's my life I can't taste.
Sometimes I cannot feel my face. You'll never see me fall from grace. Something takes a part of me. You and I were meant to be. A cheap fought for you away.
Something takes a part of me.
Boom,